Thank you for taking the time to join us on Maverick Approach. We have Simon here, we have Jay Bloom, and we also have his son, Sean. Uh, so just wanted to ask you guys a few questions. First, tell me a little bit about yourself, each one of you guys, and how you guys are all connected.
All right, I'll jump in and go first. Um, so my background is banking and finance. I come from New York, moved to Vegas about 19 years ago, um, and left the banking world after 10 years. For the last 20 years or so, I've been doing different ventures, everything from startup to mid-cap acquisition to real estate to aviation to insurance. Uh, so all over the place. Um, a retail chain at one point. But that's kind of my background.
Got you. Okay. And then does your son work with you?
He does. He's
Yeah, we're all three of us are partners in pretty much all the projects we're doing right now. We work together on a wide variety of stuff in a wide variety of industries. But yeah, no, we're partners in everything. All three of us.
Got you. And Simon as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Simon is my best friend. He's the friend that everyone refers to in the news articles about us not going on the Titanic submarine.
Right, for sure. So just to jump into it, Simon told you guys about the warning signs of the whole trip about Oceangate. You guys were actually considering actually going if he didn't do so. So tell us about that.
Well, I said I would only go if Simon went because we both share the same fear. One of our biggest, well, we share the same everything, but we also share one of the same fears, which is the ocean, because it is one of the scariest things on Earth because we don't know that much about it. We know more about space than we do about the ocean, you know. So, yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of red flags with the project itself, with everything Stockton was doing, but yeah, no, 100%. That was definitely how it all started.
Right.
We share the same of the ocean.
Right.
Yeah,
So Simon, so what did you say to him?
I said that basically there's unlimited different ways that this could go wrong, and you can take your pick. If any one of them slightly occurs, then it's a catastrophic consequence. And even looked at like the creatures in the sea life, and I was scared by that. But when I brought that up, that wasn't my main concern. My main concern was what happened, which was the sub not being able to withstand the depths and the pressures that came with it. But I think I was overall just in the overwhelmingly opinion that this was under no circumstance would I do this ever. And I think
Right.
Sean was already Sean is, very, very, he's critical about things as well. And but he was a really big fan of Titanic growing up, which is why Jay brought the idea to the table, because it was brought to him when he brought that up to somebody from Oceangate. And I think, Stockton made it seem completely safe when he verbally spoke to Jay. And, when he was pitching it, he always went over how safe it was, and was very reassuring about that.
Right.
And when Sean and Jay told me that they were thinking about doing this, I started raising concerns of basically saying that this was the worst idea ever. And that they 100% shouldn't consider it. And I think at that point, Jay addressed some of those concerns, or said in general, I mean, Sean basically said, if you're not going on it, then I'm not going on it. And I said, well, then we're not going on it because it's not something I would ever do. It wouldn't have been out of the, now it's definitely not something that I would ever do. But if it was a safe submarine, maybe but it's still, to me, Like it's not the risk versus reward, and that's what I mentioned. The risk versus reward is not there, because the risk was dying, and it was a high likelihood that you would, and the reward was being able to see the Titanic deep down in a very foggy glass window that I would otherwise be able to see probably better on a television in my living room with complete safety. So I think that was kind of my standpoint. And that's those are the concerns that I voiced originally. And I think then Jay started looking into it more, and Sean remained undeterred on his decision. And so when Stockton wanted to speak with Sean and I, it was to convince us, because we were the naysayers, and I essentially vetoed the whole thing. And so then, but we didn't want to talk to Stockton, because we knew that his standpoint was that it was completely safe. He wasn't going to change that. And there was no convincing him, because when you address concerns with him, he kind of lashed out or said that, that your concerns were stupid or misinformed. And I thought that there was kind of no point to even have the conversation with him, because he would have probably got into technical things that I didn't even know about, and I wouldn't have been able to informedly debate with him about them. But I did feel that he was probably cutting corners, and that this operation wasn't funded enough. So that's when he started pursuing Jay and telling Jay that he wanted to have that conversation with us. And the conversation was never had, because the decision was already made at that point. I think amongst the three of us, Jay also started doing more research and seeing that, and there were other red flags as well, like him flying in on his own made plane that he made himself, and it was kind of like a janky plane. And I think that raised alarms for all of us as well. But yeah, that's kind of how it went.
Right. So do you guys feel like Simon, like in a sense, kind of saved your life? Because if he didn't raise those red flags, like, is it something that you guys kind of see like, hey, we probably would have won it?
I would not have gone unless Simon went, because if me and him are gonna we're very tied together. Like, we pretty much agree on almost everything, and it's like, if we're about to do something stupid and the other person is down to do it as well, like, we will do it as long as we're together, type of thing.
Yeah.
Right, for sure.
And this was the type of thing where I would not have done it unless Simon went, but because he didn't go, and because when he brought up the points, and actually, the first thing was the video that's been going around on the media of Stockton explaining how the submarine works, and he has it operated by this little like Logitech wireless controller for the whole stuff. And the second I saw that video, and like that's when it was like really, really over. Like, the only way I was gonna do this is if Simon did it. Like, my decision was heavily relying on Simon, and once Simon was like, we're not doing this, I was like, yeah, dude, this is super dangerous. You know what I mean? Like, and then when I saw that video of Stockton explaining how it worked, we sent it to him, and then he sent, and then went to Stockton, and Stockton just brushed it off and called me and Simon misinformed. It just kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. You know what I mean? And luckily he listened to us, and this ultimately we didn't go. Thank God.
This is really a continuum of events, right? So when I first met Stockton about a year ago, Stockton was, he was so enthusiastic and so passionate about this project that he made it sound like this amazing experience. And I'm sure it was an amazing experience if he could actually pull it off, right? So I told Sean about it. Sean was initially excited. Sean told Simon. Simon was very skeptical. Simon's skepticism rubbed off on Sean. Sean and Simon did their research, brought it to me, and I kind of lost my enthusiasm over time. And when I went to Stockton to talk to him, actually he came to me here in Las Vegas. He flew out to Las Vegas to talk to me. And Simon and Sean had put together some very good points, and he could not provide very good answers. So by around April, we knew it was very unlikely that we were going to be doing this. In April, Stockton offered me 2 dates in May. I said, well, I'm not going to commit to anything because I was already like, probably not. And those 2 dates were postponed into June for weather concerns. So he said, we're going out June 18th. You and Sean can come if you want. If you guys come, I'll give you $100,000 discount each. Like,
Wow.
he was really pissed, right? And then obviously he told him I told him I have scheduling conflicts. Because to Simon's point, if I told him that it's not safe, he took that personally as like an attack. So he would so I just thought we have scheduling issues. Let's push it to next summer, next season, and we'll set something up for next summer.
Right, right. And how much was that trip? Because there's been some numbers floating around, but I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. How much was each seat that he was charging?
He was charging $250,000 per seat, and he offered me $100,000 discount per seat. So my cost would have been $150 per seat if I took that June 18th trip.
Got you. Okay. So how was all this like? How did all this come about? Like, how did he solicit you guys? Did you find him, or he found you guys?
So we had somebody that introduced us about a year ago, and she told me about Oceangate and visiting the Titanic, and she said, "Let me introduce you to Stockton." So I met him about a year ago. We talked kind of conceptually up until around February, and then in February it got like serious. Like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do this. And then we started to get from February to March, we're like finding problems. Right? He made the hull out of carbon fiber. People use carbon fiber because it's lightweight, right? And but in a sub, the weight doesn't really matter. It's not a concern. Carbon fiber is very rigid. So when it fractures, it breaches, it shatters like glass. And I wouldn't go down in a submarine, so I wouldn't go down in a carbon fiber submarine. And as you cycle it through different pressure cycles, it gets under intense pressure, then it's at atmosphere level, then under intense pressure, right? It just continually weakens it, it fatigues it. And when it covers, it shatters like it's made of glass. So carbon fiber, he's the only one that was using carbon fiber. And there's a reason for that.
So that's not industry standard. And then how far down was the actual like exploration, and how far in the safe zone was that infrastructure as far as the carbon fiber and everything else?
Well, carbon fiber was a problem at almost any depth. I mean, I've since come to learn the carbon fiber he used was actually rejected for use in aircraft. The other problem he had is the viewing window. Manufacturer rated it for 1,500 meters, 1,500 meters. The Titanic is at 4,500. And Stockton's viewpoint was, this whole industry is ultra conservative. They're over conservative. They over engineer everything, and they add a lot of expense without reason. So he said, this viewing window, this is good to 10,000 meters. The manufacturer says 1,500 meters. I can go to 4,500 meters and fill in the safe zone because I'm not going to the true limit of 10,000. And when we heard the sub went missing, like, all right, either there's some emergency and they're floating around on top of the water, or either the hull or the viewing window breached and they imploded. It was over, in a millisecond, or they went to the bottom and got stuck. Because Stockton told me that there's a hole in the side of the Titanic by the Grand Ballroom, and he would like kind of nose the sub in to look inside. And it's a 111-year-old structure that's decaying. If had something fall on the sub, they'd be trapped out there. And that was the nightmare situation, right? Like what happened with the implosion, it was over in a millisecond. And the brain takes 20 milliseconds to process the reflex. So in less than a millisecond, it was over. They didn't know what happened.
Wow.
But if they were trapped on the bottom, they'd be down there for 6 or 7 days with no food, no water, no lights, no heat. It's 31 degrees down there. And the knowledge that they were running out of oxygen and that nobody could reach. So it would be 6 days of absolute torture if they got on the bottom. What happened was tragic, but at least it was over instantaneously.
Right. which is very all that is very alarming. And these other concerns that you guys had, there's been some talk about Mr. DeWood that was actually on the ship, and was that the person that actually took your seat? And the second question is, did you guys hear about his son that had concerns as well, and he was like pretty much terrified to death?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't hear about it until after the sub went missing, but yeah, he and his son took our seats. Yeah, after we said we're not going. You know, I told Stockton we have a scheduling conflict. Then he sold the 2 seats that were for Sean and myself
To that guy.
and his son.
And the crazy part about this are the similarities. Like the son was only a year younger than me, and I'm pretty sure the dad was close to his age as well. And it's just scary that the same father and son relationship, like the same situation where the son was concerned, everything like that. Like it's just crazy, the similarities between the situations. It's really crazy.
Yeah,
They were like
yeah.
a Pakistani version of Jay and Sean.
Pretty much.
Right. That's what it seems like, and it seems like he was targeting father and son. So this was like a gift for Father's Day, or am I standing corrected as far as that whole thing that was kind of?
The son did it for the dad because he was scared to go, but he knew the dad really wanted to do it, and it was Father's Day, and he thought it would be a good bonding experience. So the son just went ahead and did it, but he was terrified.
Right.
He had a lot
Right.
of.
Interesting. And then there's some other parallels that you speak of too, that actually Mr. Rush, his wife, was actually a descendant of the people on the Titanic.
Yeah, so Stockton's wife,
Wendy Rush.
yeah, Wendy's great grandparents were Isidore and Ida Strauss, co-founders and co-owners of Macy's department store chains in New York. So they were first-class passengers. This is Stockton's wife's great grandparents. They were first-class passengers when the ship was going down. The Titanic was going down in 1912. Ida Strauss got on the lifeboat. The people that worked there said, "We know who you are, Mr. Strauss. Why don't you get on with your wife?" He said, "I'm not leaving until every woman and child is off the ship first." And then she said, "I'm not leaving without him," and got off the lifeboat, and the two of them
Wow.
died.
Wow. That's wild. That is wild.
And now,
Yeah,
now it's her husband.
right. Exactly, which is very eerie.
1,600 feet away from the bow of the Titanic is where they
Yeah.
found the wreckage of the Titan.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of eerie similarities, and I think that's why everybody's concerns and why everybody's fascinated with all this. But there is another similar situation, and I wanted to get your insight on this. And would you ever go? Virgin announced their space tour, and they're selling seats for $400,000. Would you guys ever consider that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would. So here's the thing, right? Stockton was so passionate about this project that he kind of lost his objectivity, and nobody was checking him. He was unregulated. He was in international waters, so he kind of drank his own Kool-Aid, so to speak, right? He had a confirmation bias. So anybody that gave him a fact, if it supported what he believed, no matter how ridiculous, he would accept it. And if it contradicted what he believed, no matter how reasonable and how much sense it made, he would reject it because it's just someone else's opinion. They don't know what they're talking about.
Like how he rejected us.
Right? So if he had independent, objective review of what he was doing and listened to them, this wouldn't happen. If you talk about Virgin Atlantic, if you talk about Richard Branson, or you talk about Elon Musk with SpaceX, or Jeff Bezos with Blue Origin, they have resources, they have experts, they have oversight, objective review. I would go with them. But if you said, "Hey Jay, I built a spaceship in my backyard, let's go," I would say no, thank you. And that's kind of what.
Right. And like you were saying, that he kind of really didn't listen to anybody, and he already had experts by his side, and he still kind of, did his own thing. And being that Simon and Sean raise questions, it's not too hard to see. Obviously they're not experts and they see the dangers of it. So it's such a tragic situation, and it's really tough, on a lot of their families and whatnot. But he should have took more caution for sure. And then that could have been you guys.
Yeah, and that's the freaky part. This was like the biggest news story in the world last week, and every channel, everywhere I looked, it was on the news, and they had like 3 pictures of individuals, and then the 4th picture was the father and son, and but for one decision, that would be a picture of us that would be that would be on there. So it's really kind of a haunting feeling that, one decision away from our families on the news talking about us.
Right, exactly. Well, thank God for good friends, of course. Simon kind of raising those red flags and raising those concerns. So definitely it's been insightful for sure, because I had a lot of traction on my video, and people were trying to see. And then Simon posted on his Instagram, was like, hey, this is what's going on. I'm like, oh shit, I know these guys. So I had to get you on here for sure. So I definitely appreciate it, giving your insight on all this. So appreciate you guys for your time. Definitely.
Thanks for having us, bro.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
For sure.
Thanks for having us, bro.
Yeah, definitely. I'll get your contact for Simon, because I definitely want to keep you guys in the loop on everything we have going on.
Yeah, that'd be great.
100%.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'll
Okay.
group chat you.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Appreciate
All right,
you.
thank you.
Have a good one.
Take care. Have a good one.
Later.
Bye-bye.